In the next 45 minutes or so, you're going to be learning about a program that has changed my life. It's helped me to lose 30 plus pounds and keep it off, helped me to be healthy and not be sick for the last 2 years. It's a program that I created to give structure to the paleo diet, the primal diet. It's called 6for60. My name is Dr. Matthew Hansen. I'm the CEO of the Family Wellness Institute, co-creator of the 6for60 Lifestyle Makeover Program, and the co-host of the podcast, The Healthiest Man on the Planet. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope it is as beneficial to you as it has been to me in my life.
People are shocked when I tell them some of the foods that they're eating that are turning on the hormones that store fat and increase inflammation and significantly increase your risk of dying earlier and being sick. Not only do they increase your risk of dying earlier and being sick, they increase your family's risk of dying earlier and being sick. People are shocked when I tell them what these foods are. I tell them it's sugar. Well, okay, people maybe aren't too shocked by that. Because when you think of sugar, you think of soda pop, and you think of candy bars. But when you think of sugar, you're picturing that bowl of crystal sugar sitting on your table that you might sprinkle on your grapefruit or pour into your coffee. But when you picture a bowl of sugar, I want you to also visualize a bowl of pretzels. I want you to also visualize a bowl of pasta or a bowl of rice. I want you to also visualize a bowl of cream of wheat or oatmeal, because those are all bowls of sugar. Yeah, in the pretzels and the cream of wheat and the pasta, they're in a complex carbohydrate form. But a complex carbohydrate is just sugar molecules linked up in long chains. Once it gets into your bloodstream, your body doesn't know the difference between a Hershey's bar and a bowl of noodles. They both turn into sugar in your bloodstream. They both spike your insulin levels. They both make it really easy for you to put on weight. So that's shocking to people because you're told day in and day out how healthy whole grains are for you. But in reality, they are some of the foods that you're eating that are increasing your inflammation, increasing your risk of chronic disease. If you look at the glycemic index, one of the things that spikes your blood sugar the quickest is a slice of whole grain bread. Okay, people are also equally shocked when we talk about some of the foods that decrease inflammation. Some of the foods that if you eat a diet consisting of them, they can reverse chronic disease. They'll help you to effortlessly lose copious amounts of weight, if that's your goal. People are shocked when I tell them what these foods are. Okay, they're fruits and vegetables. Not super surprising to people. Nuts and seeds, again, not super surprising. Healthy oils like avocado and olive oil. That's maybe starting to shock people a little bit. But how about things like good, clean sources of protein like ribeye steaks or sirloin steaks? Or good sources of healthy fat like butter or heavy whipping cream? Now this really shocks people. Okay, and I know the information that you just learned may shock you because it flies in the face of conventional wisdom. But it wasn't until I started questioning conventional wisdom that I went from being sick and overweight to being healthy and lean and fit. And to be honest with you, the same is true for the patients that I've coached, using the principles that you're about to pick up. You know, if you want to learn how to lose 35 pounds in 30 days by taking some magic pill or going on some crash diet that you'll never be able to stick to, you're listening to the wrong person. I'm here to teach you the trick to using the genes you were born with, to be full of energy, to be active, to be lean, to be a contributing member of your household, to be mentally sharp and mobile well into your golden years. You can learn how to have stable moods, how to have more joy in your life. And you can do this, believe it or not, with the genes that you were born with. Here's the difference between a diet and a lifestyle change program. What are the first three letters in diet spell? Die. I don't like that. But a diet is just going to get you to a certain point. So you look better at your high school reunion, you maybe look a little better on the beach in the summer. What we want to do is we want to teach you how to be all those things: mentally sharp, abundantly healthy, have more fun in your life, more joy in your life, and we want to help you to do that for the rest of your life. So I know you just saw the video of me introducing this, and it might be hard for you to imagine now, and in fact I hope it is, but I have been in your shoes and I have felt your pain. You might be interested to know that since I started implementing the lifestyle makeover principles that you're about to pick up, I've lost 30 pounds. 20 pounds of those have come from pure fat, and 10 pounds of those have come from inflammation that I was carrying around because, like a lot of you, I was chronically sick. I actually have all the muscle that I used to have in that picture. The only difference is that now you have a slightly better chance of catching a glimpse of it. Now, do you remember the last time that you were sick? You maybe had a cold or a flu that knocked you out for a day, maybe 2 or 3, or just on the couch, just incapacitated. Well, to be honest with you, I don't remember the last time I was that sick. Because since implementing the changes you're about to hear, it's been years since I've been that sick. And I'm not just one of those genetically blessed people. I want you to believe that for me not to have gotten sick, that sick majorly in years, is an accomplishment. It's an achievement. It's nothing short of a miracle, because I used to be sick all the time. Colds, flus, sinus infections, pneumonia, you name it. I was knocked out with it. If somebody in the same zip code had a cold, I would pick it up. I'm being honest with you. I would, anytime anybody around me would sneeze, I would end up sneezing a day or two later. And now I can go to holiday parties with extended family who are sick, or even work on new patients in my clinic who are sick and walk away without even a sniffle. My immune system has gone from being Barney Fife from the Andy Griffith Show to being Jack Bauer from the TV show 24. And let me tell you what, you definitely want Jack Bauer on your team. So I've lost 30, 35 pounds, and I've gone from being sick all the time to a person who never gets sick. And I never thought that was possible for me. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I am the co-creator of the 6for60 Makeover program with my friend Dr. Kristen Mitness and my wife Dr. Becky Hansen. But I originally had this idea for the 6for60 program for myself. You maybe can tell from the picture you just saw that I needed it. Also, what you don't know, but I'm happy to share with you, is that I have a lot of integrity. So I refused to stand in front of my patients and tell them that they needed to be healthier and lose weight when I was overweight and always sick. I wanted something that would help to keep me accountable, and I wanted something with a high likelihood of success. And we created the 6for60 program on 3 principles, or it's like a 3-pronged approach. One is the principles, so you'll learn why what you're doing is going to work. 2 is implementation. So you'll actually not only know this good stuff, you'll actually learn how to incorporate it into your life. And 3 is accountability, because that's a big part of what we're going to talk about here. So I wanted something that kept me accountable. I wanted something that had a high likelihood of success. In other words, I wanted something that worked, unlike the dozens of other diets that I tried in the past, like Atkins and South Beach, and even things like HCG, low-cal, plant-based diet, Ornish diet, or the different lifestyle I tried, like veganism or raw veganism. When I first implemented this program, I was trying a few of those different lifestyles. I was 30 pounds overweight and still sick. And that just wasn't cutting it for me. So what I did was I started to learn from the wisdom of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. And I didn't focus on the foods that I ate. I focused on the hormones that were making me fat and making me sick. And I let those lead me to the foods I needed to eat. I really set out to add some things to my life that also to help me to combat some of the modern stresses that we face that our ancient ancestors never did. I committed to reducing my stress a little bit if I could. I committed to staying away from excess toxins in my diet, and I also committed to keeping my spine adjusted, my nervous system working well. What I came up with was so successful I realized I needed to share it with others. And that's why I'm talking to you here right now. As you can tell from my pictures and my story, I'm not blessed with great genetics. And I can tell you honestly that I'm not super disciplined. In fact, I can tell you that there's really nothing special or extraordinary about me at all. But this lifestyle that I've created is so easy and effective because it helps to turn up the best part of our genetics, which is a blueprint that is locked inside each and every one of you. Yes, even you. The bottom line is that being off all my medications, being lean, and being healthier now than I was 5 years ago, I want to say that again. I am healthier now than I was 5 years ago. And that is a heck of a lot more fun than the alternative of being sick and overweight. In the next few minutes, you'll learn the 5 principles that have proven themselves successful to many, including myself. And when you follow them, you too will get healthy and lean and stay so for life. You'll also find out the secret that I discovered that helped me to lose an additional 2 pant sizes even after I'd lost the 30 pounds by making a simple change. In a couple weeks, I lost a couple more pant sizes. Having you hear this message drives me because I know firsthand how much life is going to be better and improve for you when you feel more comfortable and confident in your own skin, and how powerful it is to have um, the ability to not worry about your health and have the ability to not worry about your family's health anymore. There's another benefit that you'll get from this talk as well, which drives me. You see, not long ago, a 41-year-old man named Dave and his young daughter boarded a plane in Newark, New Jersey, and they were headed for Las Vegas to go meet Dave's wife and the young girl's mom. About halfway through the flight, Dave started to feel some tightness in his chest, and he was sitting next to his daughter, didn't want to scare her, so he was kind of brushing it off as nothing. It got worse and worse and worse and worse until, I hate to even say this, but Dave ended up dying of a heart attack in the aisle of the plane. They had to make an emergency landing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They had to come on the plane with a gurney and zip Dave up in a body bag. His young daughter then had to get back on the plane by herself, as unbelievable as that sounds, fly unaccompanied to Las Vegas where her mom was waiting. That to me is incredibly, incredibly sad. And I wasn't on that plane. I didn't know Dave personally, but I bet I can guess, and I bet you can probably guess too, what was going through Dave's mind as that was happening. As he was laying on the floor of that plane, struggling to take his last few breaths, he was thinking, this can't be happening to me. I'm only 41 years old. So another big reason why I'm motivated to share this information with you is because the information you're about to hear is quite possibly going to save the life of somebody listening to it. And that is ultimate motivation for me. Because how much do you think Dave's family would give to have him hear this information? Well, I bet it's a lot. My name is Dr. Matthew Hansen. I am the CEO of the Family Wellness Institute. I'm the co-creator of the 6for60 Lifestyle Makeover Program. I'm the co-host of the podcast, The Healthiest Man on the Planet. And I have a mission of helping 10 million people express optimal genetic potential through the principles you're about to learn. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn these 5 principles that I have learned that have changed my life. So what does 6 for 60 actually mean? Well, that's a good question. So like I said, I came up with this idea to create this lifestyle for myself, and I knew I could commit to 6 days a week as long as I got a day off. So 6 days a week, we live very closely to the lifestyle that we lay out for you. You eat very close to what we recommend. You exercise how we recommend you exercise, and you get a day off each week. We do this for 60 days, and at the end of the 60 days, you form some healthy habits that hopefully you can take into your lifestyle for the rest of your life. Okay? So 6 days a week for 60 days, hence the name 6 for 60. It's based on the lifestyle of the healthiest humans ever to exist, our hunter-gatherer ancestors. These people were the leanest, healthiest, fittest population of humans ever on the planet. So we want to learn from them. And the 5 principles teach us how to eat close to how they ate, how to move like they moved, and strategies to deal with the stresses that we're exposed to that they never had to worry about. The healthiest humans ever to exist. So what does that mean necessarily? Okay, here's a little evolutionary timeline. Human beings, as we would recognize them, not talking about the Geico caveman dude here, talking about a human being, have been on Earth for about 200,000 to 90,000 years, according to most good sources. Our genes evolved for millions of years leading up to this, but the human genome, about 90,000 years ago, years old or so, give or take. Okay, our genes kept on kind of honing themselves, fine-tuning themselves, up till about 40,000 years ago, when boom, just like that, they stopped evolving. So there's not a geneticist on the planet that would argue with the fact that our genes stopped evolving 40,000 years ago. Okay, so from 40,000 years ago, if we're moving on to the right, up till about 10,000 years ago is one of the healthiest periods in human history. Virtually no chronic disease, no heart disease, no cancer, no strokes, no diabetes, no obesity. These people were very, very abundantly healthy. And the argument I always hear, and I'll address it right now, is, well, didn't they just live to be like 30 years old? The life expectancy was rather low. Actually, it was higher than it was at 10,000 years ago. It gradually kept on coming up and up and up. But so they had a pretty low life expectancy, but that's a little bit of a misnomer. Couple reasons. One, they faced starvation more than we did. They faced predation from tigers and bears and lions, um, and they were exposed to the elements a lot more than we were. Hunting a large game animal with a spear is a very dangerous thing to do. So they were overcome by injury a lot more than we are. And also, if somebody lives to 80 and two people die at birth, the average lifespan is going to be somewhere around 25, 30 years. So there's a lot more infant mortality back then, which drops the life expectancy way down. So there is evidence, strong evidence, that hunter-gatherers lived well into their 80s and 90s, and lived actually well into their 80s and 90s. At that time in their life, they were actually still contributing to the tribe, still sexually active, still very, very active in their community, and very, very healthy. And that's why we say that these people were so healthy. We look at archaeological evidence, we look at the bones, anthropological evidence, and we see that very little chronic disease in this population. Very strong, healthy, lean people. Okay, so that's what we want to learn from. We want to learn from the healthiest population of humans ever to exist, because they've been there before us, and they've done it right. Okay, about 10,000 years ago, we started getting sicker, we started getting shorter, we started getting fatter. What happened 10,000 years ago was we invented agriculture. And we started eating foods, namely grains, that when our genes stopped evolving 40,000 years ago, they'd never experienced eating grains. They'd never experienced eating sugar in that large a quantity. So they had no idea what to do with it. So when the staple of our diet became something that our genes were never exposed to evolutionarily, we started getting sick, because it wasn't congruent with what our genes had experienced. So from 10,000 years ago up till today, we were sicker, shorter, fatter. Started getting really bad after World War II when we started eating a lot more processed foods. And then about 28 years ago, the proverbial stuff hit the fan. See, our genes are 40,000 years old, but in the last 28 years, we've started shifting our diet away from what our genes were exposed to, and almost eating exclusively to something that our genes are not familiar with at all. 28 years ago, we started cutting fat out of our diet. It was controversial at the time, but it stuck. People said that things like cholesterol and saturated fat cause heart disease. Now, this wasn't proven back then, and if you look at the literature, it still has never really been proven conclusively. But it was a compelling enough argument was made in 1984. You can see from the date on the top of this magazine. Also, you can see from the fact that Walter Mondale is in the top right corner. 1984, we started this experiment where we started taking all the fat out of our diet and telling people it's healthy to take the fat out. And since there's only three things that we can have in our diet: fat, carbohydrates, and protein. If you take the fat out, you have to replace it with something. And so we replaced it with carbohydrates. What we didn't really realize back then was that increased carbohydrates increase your insulin. And increased insulin, the hormone in our body that stores fat, increases the amount of fat your body stores and increases the rates of obesity in the country. It was well-meaning at the time, don't get me wrong. I mean, they were working with some of the best information they had and only wanted to do their best, but it was basically wrong, unfortunately. Instead of learning from it and stopping the trend, we just kept on going with it, even on through today. Because what they wanted to do was take out the fat, because they thought that was bad, and they didn't want to replace it with more protein because that has fat in it. So they wanted to replace it with something with the macronutrient that doesn't have much fat, which is carbohydrates. So we took the fat and the cholesterol out of our diet and we replaced it with carbohydrates. When we did that, we increased the insulin and we increased the obesity rates that we experience. So increased obesity, increased insulin due to the increased carbs leads to more diabetes, more heart disease, more stroke, more cancer, more chronic disease. Those are all things that I want to avoid in my life. I want you to avoid in yours, and I definitely want to avoid for my kids. So one of the benefits of going from fats, fatty proteins, things like eggs and bacon and meat and steaks, is that carbohydrates are cheaper, right? A bushel of wheat is cheaper than a pound of grass-fed hamburger. That's not necessarily a good thing. We see this chart here. The cost of food goes down, it kind of drops off right around that 1984 time. The cost of healthcare skyrockets when that happens. So we're spending less money on our food because we're eating more carbohydrates, but because of that, it's making us sicker and sicker and sicker. The result is more healthcare costs. So some people might argue that spending less money on food is good. I'm not necessarily one of them, but I don't think anybody will argue that spending more money on healthcare is good, especially since we spend twice as much as anybody else in the industrialized world. So Canada spends a lot of money per person on healthcare. We spend twice as much as them. Guess where we rank out of the 42 industrialized countries? We rank 37th. So obviously spending more money on healthcare hasn't helped us to be healthy, and spending less money on food has helped us to be very sick. This is a super interesting chart from the Centers for Disease Control. So this starts in 1985, the year after we started the experiment of taking the fat and cholesterol out of our diet and educating the public that the best thing you can do is add in healthy whole grains. Okay, at this point, there's very little obesity in our country. You can't say that there's none, but the blue states, it represents about 10% obesity. The white states represent no data. There wasn't even enough good evidence to make any claims about it. Okay, so let's go up in 2-year increments. 1985 when we started the experiment. 1987 is getting a little bit worse, as you can see. More blue states. 1989, worse still. 1991, worse still. We added a new darker blue color, which is instead of about 10%, 15 to 19%. 1993, not getting any better. Looks like Wyoming there is about the only holdout we have. 1995, getting a lot worse. 1997, added yet another color, which is greater than 20% obesity. 1999, 2001, adding another color. 2002, adding another color. So at this point, we're realizing that there's an obesity epidemic, but unfortunately, we're not realizing what's causing it. 2005, you can see we added red, which is about a third of the population is obese. 2007, 2009, and when the data stopped recording the data in 2010. So 2 years ago, this was the state of the country. And I'd like to tell you that since then it's gotten better, but unfortunately it hasn't. It keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. This is not a healthy state to live in. This is not a place where I want my kids to grow up in. I want my kids to grow up in a healthy environment. And that's why my mission, I'm driven by it. I want 10 million people. I know that's just a drop in the bucket, but if 10 million people are expressing optimum genetic potential, I know there's a much better chance that my son and my future children are going to grow up around healthy people. Okay? Because this is not good. Considering where we've been to where we are now, the changes that we've made have obviously not been healthy for our waistline, our health, or our healthcare spending. Okay, we look at this from 1999 to 2010. That is a 20-year span. Look at how much worse it's gotten. I mean, it wasn't good in 1990, but it is horrible in 2010. And as I said before, our genes stopped evolving 40,000 years ago, and up to that point, it took millions of years to get us there. So from 1990 to 2010, if you think that our genes have changed to make us obese in that time, you're dead wrong, and any geneticist will tell you that. If a doctor ever tells you that, they are very, very wrong too. The genes you were born with may make you more susceptible to holding on to weight and making it hard for you to lose weight, but when you start feeding your genes right, when you start eliminating some of the stresses that we're exposed to that our hunter-gatherers ancestors weren't, you start to get lean no matter who you are. And this is just a really sad state of affairs. So in order to reverse this, we have to learn from our healthier hunter-gatherer ancestors. That's why we created this 6 for 60 lifestyle program. Because we know the paleo diet is very, very healthy. We know the primal diet is very, very healthy. But we wanted to give some structure, some accountability, and some ways to implement this into your life. So a lot of people say, is the paleo diet a fad diet? And I understand them saying that because it only seems like it's been around for a few years. But I'd have to say absolutely not. I mean, any diet that we've been eating for more than 40,000 years cannot be a fad diet. And based on what we've just seen from the maps I just showed you, I'd say that maybe this government food guide pyramid here that you're looking at, which the basis of it is grains, maybe that's the fad diet. So I want to inspire you by telling you and introducing you to a couple of people, Mark Sisson, Art Devaney. Very inspirational to me. I read Mark's book, The Primal Blueprint, which I would recommend you checking out. Really changed my life, changed my perspective on nutrition, and got the ball rolling for me. He has a great website called Mark's Daily Apple. Check that out. Art Devaney wrote The New Evolutionary Diet. I did not include these guys' image on purpose because I want to respect the fact that they own that and that I don't want to include it. So if you want to look it up, I would recommend it. Just Google them. The reason I say that is because they're both very, very healthy, very, very fit. And Mark is, I think, 57, 58 years old, has a stomach you could wash a load of laundry on. Just looks like he's exuding health. Same thing with Art Devaney. He is in his 70s. He is 6 feet 1 inches tall, which, I mean, you know, so unfortunately your diet's not going to help you to grow taller at this point if you're already an adult. But 205 pounds, very, very lean. I think sub 10% body fat. Just he looks like Superman's grandpa. Just a very, very, very lean, healthy, inspirational guy. So intellectually, when I was reading about this, it made sense to me. Just like intellectually, the plant-based diet and raw vegan diets made sense to me too. But when I looked at the people that were practicing the plant-based diet versus the people that were practicing the paleo, hunter-gatherer, ancestral health type diet, the difference was just astounding. So I put versus Dean Ornish at the bottom here. Dean Ornish, you might want to Google him and see a couple pictures of him too. Great guy, done great things for health, nothing against him. But if you look at him, he doesn't look like the picture of health. He looks usually kind of pasty, a little bit puffy, not super healthy. And that was my role model when I was on the plant-based diet, and I was thinking, nah, I wanna be healthier, look healthier than him. Then I looked at these other role models, Mark and Art, and man, it was a big difference. Again, nothing against Dean, great guy, done a lot of great stuff. But now that I am actually eating a diet consisting of lean meats, actually not lean meats, I eat any kind of meat, clean meats. I want them to come from clean sources, healthy fats, good vegetables and stuff like that. I look and feel and act and perform a lot better than I did before, unquestionably. So check those out. So these are the 5 principles of the 6 for 60 lifestyle makeover. Purpose, having a balanced nervous system, balancing your hormones, exercise, sufficiency, deficiency, and health. These are the 5 principles that have led me to health and the 5 principles that are going to get you to health too. First, we're going to start with purpose. I'm just going to briefly see there's 2 types of people, those that are driven by pain and pleasure and those that are driven by purpose. And the reason purpose is the base of the pyramid, and the pyramid goes from the most important things to the least important things and ultimately leads to the pinnacle, which is health. Purpose is the base of our pyramid because purpose is the ultimate motivator. If you're driven by pain and pleasure, you're only going to do things if the perceived pleasure you get outweighs the pain that getting it causes you. Okay? If you're driven by purpose, you're driven by a purpose, so no matter what, you're going to end up getting that goal. Let me give you an example of what I mean there. So I used to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. When I was driven by pain and pleasure, I just wanted to look a little better. Okay? So the benefit was to look a little better. That was the pleasure I was going to get for it. The pain that it caused was me waking up at 5 in the morning, getting out of my warm bed next to my beautiful wife, getting into my cold clothes, getting into my cold car, driving in the dark to the gym. It wasn't long until living in that model, it collapsed. And I quit working out because A, I wasn't getting the benefits I wanted to, but B, the pleasure I thought I was going to get far, the pain that getting the pleasure I thought I was going to get far outweighed my perceived benefit. Okay, so I switched from pain and pleasure model to a purpose model, and it has changed quite a bit. Okay, so if I'm driven by pain and pleasure, I want to look a little better, so that motivates me. Now I'm driven by purpose. My purpose is to enjoy the life that God gave me with abundant health and abundant joy, to be a role model for my patients, and to be a role model for my son. Okay, so now if my alarm clock rings at 5 in the morning, I open my eyes, I'm still laying in a warm bed next to my beautiful wife, my car is still cold, it's still going to be dark outside. But if I open my eyes and I think, I want to enjoy the life that God gave me with abundant health and abundant joy, I really want to get the most I can out of this life. And you know what? I want to be a role model for my patients, and I want to be a role model for my son of health for the rest of his life too. Then my eyes stay open because I'm driven by a purpose. The next step is balancing your nervous system. And there are 2 truths when it comes to your body, and that is your body is self-healing and your body is self-regulating. And I may be one of the only doctors that's going to admit that to you. But your body heals itself and it regulates itself. That's evident if you've ever cut yourself and taken care of it. The scab forms without you even having to read a book about how to heal a cut. It just happens on its own. And if you're excited, your blood pressure increases. If you go outside in a cold day, you start producing more heat. Your body regulates itself perfectly. That's really, really good news because you're going to respond really well to lifestyle change then, because your body's self-healing and self-regulating. So starting to feed it better fuels is going to be good for you. The nervous system controls and coordinates this, however. If you see over there, that's your brain and your spinal cord, which make up your central nervous system. Nerves just come off of there and go to every tissue in your body, basically. The nervous system controls everything from your eyeballs to your spleen to your heart to your liver, your pancreas to your stomach. And that's why this is so important. Because not only will your body function better, but you'll get more out of the positive choices you're making. If the nerves going to your stomach aren't working as well, you're not going to get the most out of making healthier food choices. If the nerves going to your lungs aren't working as well, you're not going to get as much oxygen as you would from exercising properly. So that's why this is foundational to your health. Because subluxation is nerve system interference. Nerve system interference, by definition, then decreases your body's ability to heal itself and regulate itself. So I think it's very important that you at least get assessed by a doctor of chiropractic, because they specialize in removing this thing called a subluxation, which is nerve interference. And then if you're able to get treated, because it's going to make your results that much more effective, that much faster. It really is foundational to your health. I made a little video for my patients, and you're welcome to take a look at it. The address is below here. You can see it's nice and short, only like 10,000 characters long. So if you can copy that and paste it into your browser, you can see the video that I made, which talks about why I'm such a big fan of having a balanced nervous system, why I'm such a big fan of chiropractic, not only because I'm a chiropractor, but because I'm a patient and because I am myself a fan. Next thing that we do on the 6for60 pyramid is we balance your hormones. Now this is the diet portion of the program, and I don't call it diet because it's more important than that. What we want to focus on is balancing your hormones. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors had perfectly balanced metabolic hormones because they weren't exposed to the things that we're exposed to every day. They weren't exposed to the grains and the added sugar. The hormones that determine leanness or fatness are your metabolically active hormones. They're things like insulin, leptin, ghrelin, peptide YY, cholecystokinin, and a few others. Okay? The most important of those hormones, by far in my opinion, is insulin. If you focus on balancing your insulin, increased insulin is associated with decreased lifespan. Boo there, who wants that for themselves? It's also associated with heart disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, obesity, 5 of the top 5 disease killers in this country right now. So by focusing on balancing this one hormone, you're going to decrease yours and your family's risk of dying early from heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes, all those nasty, nasty things, and increase your ability to be lean and fit. Gary Taubes, who wrote a really great book, which I recommend as well, called Good Calories, Bad Calories. And he also just published a book, which I haven't read yet, but I would also think that it would be great for you to pick up too, called Why We Get Fat. He spent 7 years studying this, reading what us doctors don't have time to a lot of time. He read all the literature. And he came to this conclusion. It is impossible to get fat without the presence of insulin. Insulin is your fat storage hormone. What it does is take sugar out of the bloodstream, because the sugar that you get from eating that bowl of pasta or bowl of cream of wheat is very toxic to a lot of the cells in your body. So the insulin takes it out of your bloodstream, and it stores it mostly for our purposes in your fat cell. It also locks the fat inside the fat cell. So the key to balanced hormones and leanness is this. Carbohydrates drive insulin. Insulin drives fat. Got that? Carbohydrates drive insulin. Insulin drives fat. If you think back to that timeline, so 40,000 years ago up till 10,000 years ago, our hunter-gatherer ancestors ate very, very little carbohydrate. They ate vegetables. They ate some tubers. They ate lots of fat, lots of good, clean sources of protein, and whatever else they could as far as greens and fruits and herbs and things like that. They were never exposed to things like industrial seed oils and grains and added and processed sugars. So there's 3 macronutrients, and I know it's hard to believe, but it's eating these 3 things in the wrong ratio that has caused our country to explode with obesity, to explode with chronic disease. I mean, you saw the maps. We're not able to argue that we haven't gotten a lot sicker in the last 28 years than we were before. Okay, so what we started doing is taking out the fat and adding carbohydrates. Let me explain to you what these macronutrients are. We got fat, protein, and carbohydrates. Protein is used for tissue repair. Our muscles are made of protein, our organs are made of protein. Protein is a big constituent in a lot of our cells, some of the enzymes. So protein is used basically for tissue repair. It can be used for fuel in a pinch. Fat and carbohydrates are used as fuels. Fat is a lot of our tissue cells' preferred source of fuel. And actually, we're able to make all the carbohydrates we would need from fat and protein. You would survive perfectly well for the rest of your life without eating another carbohydrate. Now, I would not recommend that, but it is possible. Carbohydrates are also used as fuel. But we want to get those carbohydrates in the form of vegetables, in the form of fruits, and in some cases in the form of nuts and seeds. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors ate lots of fat and very little carbohydrate and were very healthy and lean. And it wasn't until I started eating lots of fat in my diet that I started losing weight. I needed that energy, that healthy energy that my body and my brain needed in order to get healthy and in order to start getting lean and staying lean. We eat lots of carbs and very little fat, and we are fat and sick. We are overweight, obese, and sick, as that map showed you. There's a really great video, which I put the URL for here too, which copy that and watch it in your browser if you would like to. It's from a really cool documentary called Fathead, which is worth checking out too. That's on Netflix Instant. You can also rent it or buy the movie online too, which would help support the people that are working to make the world a better place through improving our nutrition as well. So check that out. It backs up a lot of the information I'm saying. Especially because it's so controversial to think that we can eat fat. But reality is fat is good, clean sources of fat are very, 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 very healthy for us. Our body loves it. And eating fat does not make you fat. It's eating sugar that makes you fat. Okay? The fat from a donut, maybe that'll make you fat because it spikes your insulin and that fat gets put into the fat cells instead of used as fuel. A lot to explain there, and we'll get into that more in the 60-day program. Okay, so I don't want you to be obsessing about your carb count like you're some Hollywood starlet during award season, okay? But in reality, it's really good to know what we're looking at here and what we're facing. So between 50 and 100 carbs per day is a good amount of carbs to have for weight loss. Between 100 and 150 carbs per day is weight loss for people if you're active, and effortless weight maintenance for everybody. Over 150 carbs per day means gradual weight gain. And if you're wondering how many carbs are in what, we'll teach that to you in the program as well. But you can also look it up online. There's many sources, actually a lot of iPhone apps, things like that. So 150 plus carbohydrates a day is gradual weight gain. You've probably heard that after the age of 30, you put on a pound or two of fat and lose a pound of muscle a year. Now, if you look at a picture of Mark Siss and you look at a picture of Art Devaney, you can see that it's absolutely not true. You don't inherently do that. It is true, however, if you're eating greater than 150 carbohydrates a day for most people. So if you stay below 150 carbohydrates a day, you're not going to put on the pound of fat, lose the pound of muscle like everybody tells you you're going to do. You're going to do that if you're eating foods that aren't congruent with your genetics. But if you're eating foods that are congruent with your genetics, you're going to stay lean and stay healthy for the rest of your life. It's really cool. So 300 plus carbohydrates a day is, in my opinion, a rocket ship leading to obesity and chronic disease. Interestingly enough, the USDA with their food guide pyramid, the base of being whole grains, if you add up the amount of carbohydrates you get from eating off of the food guide pyramid perfectly, it's over 300 grams of carbohydrates a day. So it's not a huge mystery why we're seeing that ugly, ugly map which we showed you before. It's not a huge mystery why a third of the country is obese, why 2/3 of the country is considered to be overweight, why 1 in every 3 of our children are destined to get diabetes. Not my kids, right? And not your kids either, I hope. But that's what the statistics are telling us. And 1 in every 2 children who are African American or Hispanic are set to get diabetes in the future. That is not okay with me, okay? And that's why we need to make changes. That's why I have such a strong and passionate and powerful mission. And that's why I want you to get on this program. I want you to start learning these healthy choices. I want you to get healthier. I want you to enjoy that health. I also want you to share it with others, share this video with others, pass it along so we can help to get our mission accomplished. Okay, so there's good news. So we talked about taking out things like grains and industrial seed oils, which are canola, safflower, soybean, corn oils, things like that. Taking out grains and refined sugars. We are going to let you eat some foods that our hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't eat. So don't feel like you're going to be too terribly deprived. Things like red wine, white wine, spirits, which are like whiskey, rye, gin, those kind of things, in moderation, of course. Things like dark chocolate, 70% plus is best. Things like coffee, a cup or two a day, with heavy whipping cream even. Things like rice, a few times a week. White rice is a fairly inert carbohydrate, maybe okay for you to add a couple times on your cheat days, etc. And then also high-fat dairy, things like butter, heavy whipping cream, and fermented dairy, things like yogurt and kefir. Higher the fat content, the better. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors never ate those, but we find that a lot of people are able to tolerate them. If you're not one of them, then definitely don't include in your diet. And if you find that you're having trouble losing weight, you feel like you're getting healthier, but the weight's not going away, dairy is one of the first things I would eliminate because it might be that you're allergic to it. Anyway, it's on there. If you can tolerate it, keep it in the diet, and that's the good news. Okay, I told you that there was a trick I was going to tell you that I found that helped me to lose an additional 2 pant sizes even after I'd lost the 30 pounds, and that was that I cut out gluten-containing grains. So on my cheat day, I eat whatever I want to, but I found out that on my cheat day, if I still avoided gluten-containing grains, I felt a lot better. My brain fog went away. My wife's allergies went away, and I lost 2 pounds of inflammation from around my waistline. I went from a 34 pant, which I was happy to be in, believe me, because I'd started out at a 38 or 40, to a 32 size 32 pants, which I haven't worn since I was 19, and I just kind of had given up the idea that I'd ever wear them again. Um, so bacon is rad, gluten is bad. That's the good news. Gluten exists on a bell curve, so a bell curve, if we're looking at it as an analogy of like grades or whatever, for example, the people on the left are going to fail. The people on the right that fall into the edge of that curve are going to get A's. Everybody else in the middle is going to pass. Okay, as far as gluten is concerned, people on the right can tolerate it. Now, I'm extending this metaphor out. I'm not sure if that's exactly true, that there are some people that can tolerate it, but I bet there are maybe one or two. Um, the people on the left are so violently opposed to the gluten protein in their body that their body shuns it. They get what's called celiac disease, which causes bloody diarrhea, chokes off the small intestine. Really bad news. So the people in the middle have an intolerance to it, but not so violently that they have celiac disease. It's affecting them once it gets in their bloodstream versus affecting them in their gut. Okay, so the people in the middle maybe don't have celiac disease, but they have adult onset acne. The people in the middle maybe don't have celiac disease, but they have allergies. People in the middle don't have celiac disease, but they have asthma, or their kids have ADHD. The people in the middle don't have celiac disease, but they have brain fog. People in the middle don't have celiac disease, but they have myocardial heart problems. People in the middle don't have celiac disease, but they have MS. The people in the middle don't have celiac disease, but they have lupus symptoms. They have a myriad of symptoms because once this protein, gluten, gets into our bloodstream, our body starts to attack it, and it causes autoimmunity, which manifests itself as many different symptoms. So I can say that there maybe is a few people out there that can tolerate it. Again, I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to extend the metaphor to say, yeah, there's a couple. But I do not think that gluten is a health food for anybody. And gluten, just so you know, is in wheat, it's in barley, and it's in rye. And I strongly encourage you for the entire 60 days of the program to stay completely gluten-free. We've got some helpful tools in the program, such as an exhaustive shopping list telling you exactly every ingredient that you can pick up. It's really helpful to have carried around with you. We also got tons of good recipes, a 7-day meal guide, actually lots of meal guides. We also have videos pretty much daily with motivational tips telling you where you're at, what to expect, what's happening with your body. We have videos that go more in depth into challenging the conventional wisdom. We have videos set up to teach you the exercises that we believe you should be doing. It's really comprehensive to keep you accountable and keep you going and moving forward. Because 80% of the results you're going to get as far as weight loss is concerned come from your diet. I know that's surprising to a lot of people because you think you got to bust your butt in the gym in order to lose weight, but really 80% of those results come from your diet. So if you want a six-pack abdomen, You have to get strong at the gym, but if you want to be able to see it, that happens at the choices you make at the door of your refrigerator. Principle number 4 is exercise. Quick little story called Three Hormones and a Spin Class Instructor. I'm going to go a little bit over the 45 minutes, and I apologize for that, but I just want to keep on going for you here. Um, so back when I was in the pain and pleasure model, when I was waking up at 5 in the morning to go to the gym, I was going to a spin class 3 days a week, busting my hump for 45 minutes. And the spin class instructor was awesome. She was great, perky, just what you needed in the morning to motivate you, get you going. Very smart, very intelligent. But like most of us in that class, it was pretty apparent that she had about 15 to 20 pounds to lose. And I'm thinking, oh, great. She does this every day. How do I hope to lose any weight by doing this? And in fact, I really wasn't losing much weight by doing the spin class. And I realized that I've been going to the same gym for a number of years, and so for 4 years I've been walking past the same guy on the treadmill. That same guy had the same 40 pounds to lose. How many of you have noticed that? And now be honest with yourself. How many of you are that guy or that gal? That you've had the same 20 pounds to lose, the same 40 pounds to lose, even though you've been busting your hump on the treadmill or on the elliptical machine for years. That is because when you work out with cardio workouts like the spin classes, like the long jogs on the treadmill or outside, like the long elliptical sessions, you produce a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol, what it does is it saves your fat reserves and it starts burning muscle. And that is exactly the opposite of what you want as far as a healthy body composition goes. So it was a big wake-up call to me when I learned that cardiovascular training, running, jogging, things like that, aren't a very effective way at all to lose fat and especially lose weight. So the light kind of dawned on me when I actually went back to that same gym a few years later and saw the same spin class instructor. And so from that time, I've lost 30 pounds. I haven't been sick because I changed my workout regimen and I definitely changed my diet. And I went back and I saw that same spin class instructor, and she still had the same 15 pounds to lose, maybe even 5 or 10 more. And she's been doing cardio and aerobic exercise like a madwoman for that whole time. I know, actually, she teaches like 5 classes a day, maybe a couple times a day. That was a big realization for me because I had lost the weight by actually working out less. Okay, because what I do when I work is I focus on producing testosterone and growth hormone, which is important in both men and women. And women, don't worry, you're not going to grow mustaches or beards. It's a hormone that helps to seek out fat reserves and burns them like a fat-seeking, heat-seeking missile after your workouts, and you continue to burn fat for a long time afterwards. And so the workouts that we recommend help to produce those hormones, which help you to burn your fat reserve, instead of producing cortisol, which spares your fat reserves and burns your muscle. The 4 movements we recommend, the exercises we recommend in the 6for60 Lifestyle Makeover, mimic the movements of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. They're moving heavy things, which our hunter-gatherer ancestors would have done when they were setting up shelters, moving heavy stones, carrying heavy carcasses back to camp. Move fast, which our hunter-gatherer ancestors would have done if they were running towards a meal, towards a rabbit or a deer or a mastodon or whatever else, or running away from becoming food, running away from a bear or a tiger. Move slow, which our hunter-gatherer ancestors did by walking from camp to camp or following herds of game across the savannah or North America. And move fun, which our hunter-gatherer ancestors did by frolicking, playing, wrestling with their family, friends, and village tribe mates. So move heavy things for us. That means resistance training, like lifting weights, body weight exercises, you name it. And we have videos teaching you how to do those specific workouts in the 6for60 program. But those workouts shouldn't be much more than 20 minutes a day. So I used to work out in the gym like 3 hours a day when I was an athlete in college and in high school. And I'm fitter, leaner, and stronger now that I'm working out an hour a week versus 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. Move fast, which is sprinting. Move slow, which for me, I don't consider that working out because I just go for walks with my family, or I go for walks and listen to good podcasts I like, or music, or motivational books. What I prefer to do is do it with my family, and that is a lot of fun, going on a hike or a walk. And move fun. I occasionally will play tennis or a game of pickup basketball. I I still enjoy every once in a while going for a jog, so I'll go on a nice fun 5K run or something like that. If you want to lose weight, the two things you want to focus on doing is moving heavy things, eating between 50 and 100 carbohydrates a day, and walking. So I want you to work out 6 days a week. 3 days a week, I want you to lift weights or do some resistance training for 20 minutes a day. 3 days a week, I want you to walk for a minimum of 45 minutes. And those two things combined are going to help you to blast through a lot of the fat that you're holding. Also, once you start to plateau, I want you to work in 1 day a week, take out 1 day of that weight training, and add in 1 day of sprinting or burst training or high intensity interval training. Really pretty simple. Once I started working with the workouts that optimize the hormones, optimize leanness, and optimize health, I started getting results really fast, and you will too. Sufficiency and deficiency is the last one, and I put this little funny thing. It's the chocolate chip. So, say you do all these things, you have your purpose, you balance out your nervous system, your hormones, your exercises, and then sufficiency and deficiency, which is supplementation, is the last step. So if you're baking a chocolate chip cookie and you leave out the chocolate chips, do you still have a chocolate chip cookie? No. But you still got a pretty darn good cookie. But if you want the chocolate chip cookie, you got to include the last step as well. So I recommend supplementing because it's hard for us to be as sufficient in nutrients as our hunter-gatherer ancestors were. And supplementing for me is very, very simple. We just supplement the things that we're deficient in that they were much more sufficient in. Our soil is less nutritious than theirs was, so I recommend a super high quality multivitamin, which you can find on our site. What we sell is only available through physicians, guaranteed pure, the best stuff on earth. A very, very high quality omega-3 fish oil, because our hunter-gatherer ancestors ate not just the muscle meat, but also a lot of the fat from the animals they ate. They ate the organ meats, they ate the brain, nervous tissue, so they got a lot more omega-3 fatty acids than we do. So I recommend you supplementing with a good high-quality fish oil, a good probiotic, because we eat about 1 million times less good bacteria than our hunter-gatherer ancestors did. And also, if you live like me in the northern regions, we need to supplement with a good vitamin D supplement because we're just not converting enough in our skin during the winter months. And that is something we definitely want to be sufficient in, because even when we are outside, we're usually not exposed to the sun as much as we need to be, because we're also scared about skin cancer. But what we need to do is expose ourselves to the sun when we can for 25 minutes at a time, then cover up with some clothing, and also to supplement with vitamin D. That helps us to be as sufficient in nutrients, some of the key nutrients that fall through the cracks that we are not getting as much of as our hunter-gatherer ancestors did. All right, the 6 for 60 health pyramid. Here we got purpose, nervous system being balanced, balancing your hormones, exercise, sufficiency, deficiency. That ultimately leads to health. I know a lot of you are going to have some questions about this, so I'm going to give you my email address at the clinic here. It's T as in Tom, F as in Frank, W as in Wilma, I as in Island, M as in Mountain, N as in Nancy. TFWIMN stands for the Family Wellness Institute in Minnesota at gmail.com. Feel free to email me any questions you have. I will be happy to try to reply to those emails, or I'll try to answer the questions you have in my podcast. Okay, so there is a cheat day built into this. I want you to take advantage of that if you want to. I will be honest with you that after about 30 days of doing this program, a lot of people, including myself, usually find that they don't really need or want to do the cheat day anymore. But it's there for you if you need it, because it takes away the neurosis. So cheating is actually built into the program. It also serves to reset your metabolism. So if you want to look at it from a different perspective, it can be a fairly beneficial thing to do as far as weight loss, but definitely not necessary. But if you want it, please take advantage of it. So I have some rules for the cheat day. It's reverse Lent. Just go nuts. Knock yourself out. Any craving that you had, indulge it during that time. Stay away from gluten, so remain gluten-free on the cheat day. Don't drink your calories. Keep it to one specific day. Don't say, oh, my cheat day's on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because when you start doing that, you start doing little cheats on Monday. You start doing little cheats on Tuesday, little cheats on Thursday, and not taking a cheat day, but just doing little cheats throughout the day, when it's far more beneficial for you to be strict for 6 days and then have your cheat day be Friday, or be strict for 6 days and have your cheat day be Sunday. Examples like that. Don't keep cheat food around after the cheat day. That's very helpful for me. And if you're on your cheat day, start out the day with 30 grams of protein, which you would get from a good quality whey protein shake, which we also have some that we recommend, and a couple eggs. What to expect? You can expect to be held accountable. You can expect results that will last. You can expect to have more fun in your life. You can expect to get healthy. You can expect the highest return on investment in healthcare. That is our brand promise to you, that you will get the highest return on investment. Every dollar you invest in this program and in yourself through what we teach you is going to return more in health for you than anywhere else you can invest it. That's our promise to you. You'll feel better, have more energy, less brain fog, have virtually no colds or flus, stable moods, and less fat. If weight loss is one of your goals, that you can expect to lose between 10 and 40 pounds in the next 60 days, which is pretty awesome. Now, I've been talking to you for close to an hour, a little bit more than the 45 minutes I promised, but I really hope you've appreciated it. First and foremost, the 6 for 60 Lifestyle Makeover is a program designed to get you healthy. Yes, you'll lose between 10, 20, 30, 100, 300 pounds if your body needs to. But the primary reason that you should choose to sign up for the free week that we're offering is to get healthy. The great and amazing thing about your body and your health is that the second that you start to make good decisions, the second that you start to incorporate these principles, you will begin to get healthy. And we want you to learn in the next 60 days or so is how to get healthy. We also want you to learn how to stay healthy for life. Thank you very, very much.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the last 45 minutes. I've certainly enjoyed creating it for you. Now you have an opportunity to actually take it for a test drive. You have an opportunity, if you follow the links or look at the information on the site and surrounding the video, to actually get a free week of the 6 for 60 Lifestyle Makeover and see how you like it before you decide what you want to do. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's as transformative to you as it's been for me.